Hi. What's your name?
Hey, well, my birth name is Jennifer Kathleen Worth, and my quote unquote street name, spiritual name is Zen, XEN.
How did you get homeless?
Um, that's a hard one to start with because there really is no beginning because it's a journey. But the turning point was I have a 7-year-old son. I also have a 28-year-old daughter. And I had to go through a process where I had to pretty much let go of my son because of the state of where things were at in terms of the marriage, right? And I actually asked for a divorce, and because of his inability to deal with his fear and willing, to go there and own his shit, he created a story that I was the crazy one, that I was quote unquote a threat to my son, and so created a story that included everyone in my life, and kidnapped him out of the state of California and brought him to his family in Pennsylvania. And because of where I'm at, I'm not able to, I don't live in the matrix. I never have, the paradigm, whatever you want to call it. So I'm the being that has to figure out a way without using the system, or the shitstem, which is what I call it, because it is. It's all fear. Um, so that's why I'm on the street, is to reunite with my son. Which, from my perspective, because I'm a healer and I do lots of things, that is what's going to heal in terms of separation that still exists between families or within families. Do you understand what I'm saying? On a collective level. Because that's what we do here. We work with the collective energy. Yeah. So that's why I'm here. That's one reason. The other reason why is I'm here to serve. I'm on a mission. And this is where I've been asked to come, is to do this work that we're all doing together on the street, which is really to raise the vibration of the planet and us on it, to which then we completely transcend a paradigm that has ruled for way too long. Yeah. So I do lots of things on the street. But part of my process is I had to let go of everything, so I have no identity, even though I have a name. They're just stories. And I have no density, all I am is light. I have no human body because I'm not human. And this is this is why we're crazy, because the human cannot, things that I speak about and what's spoke about on the street or in inner cities, whatever that inner city looks like, depending on the environment, that it is very raw and authentic. It's real, it's life. It's like we are fighting the conscious war and always have been, because that's all it ever has been. There has never been a physical war other than the insanity that the government has created to make it look like it, right? So we are dealing with all of that on top of the diseases that the government created, such as mental illness, which is all created by the government, cancer. We deal with it all on the street, all of it. And somehow we've managed to function day to day. Drug abuse, we are healing on the street because we're healing together as one. Because their fucking programs don't work. It's a fucking joke. How do I know? Because I spent 25 years in the system. I am a clinical social worker in the state of New Jersey and California. It is on hold, my licenses, but I do have them. And I've been on the front lines for over 25 years dealing with this. And also the criminal justice system. We work with it. Trauma on every level with everybody, whether it's mental illness, which is a combination of everything. Everybody deals with everything on some level because it's who we are. It's our programming and conditioning. And so we do the healing work here. Yeah. And we deal with hardcore issues. including violence, predatory behavior. We don't involve the police. They're corrupt. There is light within the police, so that's not the issue. The issue is that the corruption, the fear, the amount of fear that still exists within those systems is ridiculous. And it's just getting more and more expansive. Because the more light, it's going to cause them to have to expand more into the dark. The dark. What else? What do you... is there anything specific? Like
Sure.
about-
What are you think some of the misconceptions people have about what it is to be homeless?
That it's a choice. It's a choice in the matter of that we choose unconditional love. And this is a path, this is a spiritual path. It's no different than brothers and sisters who go to the prison system. If it was created by the paradigm, it has to be transcended to light. So that means light beings need to go into these fields and they need to deal with everything that comes up with all that. You understand what I'm saying? So it is a spiritual path. Spirituality is not going to be confined to what the paradigm decides. That's why they call it the new cage. Because there's still duality within that, because there's ego still exists. You understand what I'm saying? Yeah. And so there's traps there. It's just the honoring of one's, it's all about self-empowerment, which is what my role is. I hold the space for these beings to do the work that they've been showing they've been doing, but actually be able to do it because I can hold that space for them. And they're healing. Not because the government is doing anything, because they're not. They don't give a shit. Pardon my language, they don't give a fuck about anything or anyone. And that's the truth. Because if those programs actually were of service, we wouldn't be still sitting here talking about this. That's the reality. So they are on a spiritual journey. This was their unique blueprint, their unique expression of how they were going to walk through this now time and space to assist with the healing of humanity, for the evolution, for the shift to happen. That's what homelessness is about. They're dealing with it in the rawest form possible. Addicts, veterans that our fucking government doesn't even take care of, which is disgusting. How they torture these men and women and then send them to the street, and because they are who they are, they're not worthy of treatment that others who may have something else, you know what I'm saying? That's separation, and that's privilege. And by the way, I am. I should have started off with that. So I'm going to own that on camera right now, because this is really important, that I own the fact that I am white privileged and I am a racist, because that is my programming. It is not the truth of who I am, but it is part of who I am. And I cannot transcend anything if I'm unable to own that within, especially for someone who is in physical form, looks like a white girl, right? I also own that I'm a racist. Why? Because it's my programming. Not because I am. It's because I was programmed to believe I was a racist. I was programmed to believe that I was white privileged. And because I am those things, I am allotted privileges that people of color, any color outside of white, is not allotted to. They don't have those luxuries. And I grew up in privilege. I was lower class privilege, white privilege, but I was still privileged. And that shit makes me just, And so I'm here in Santa Fe dealing with privilege every day. And it is not fun. Because they love to publicly humiliate. And that's what they do to the homeless all day long. And so we do what we do on the streets to keep our consciousness elevated, right? And we pray to God and thank God every day that we have cannabis. Because even those who are transcending, who are really masters of the substance that they use, that's why they're here, because they can play that role for extended periods of time. And they can function, which is what they do every day, and we show them. And so we use cannabis, which is like, it levels the playing field for us. And then once it's leveled, then we can just raise our consciousness, and that's how we survive. And we have to trust the process. we got to learn how to not ask for things else, that whatever we need comes to us, you know what I'm saying? And accept the fact that this is the way we have to live right now, because it's not about me, it's about one. You know what I'm saying? And this is the selfless sacrifice that these beings make every day. And it's fucking unappreciated on every level. There is just no honor or respect for these warriors. None. And so we come and we show them exactly who we are, because they don't listen. Because if you're in fear, you're an idiot. You fear, you don't have the ability, number one, to tell the truth on every level. So, which is why we ask ourselves, why do we listen to our government? This government that has never existed in my world, but it still exists in some. And because it was a system that was created in fear, they do not have the ability to tell the truth on any level, which is a loophole. Because they go through their own little ceremonies, how they swear to tell the truth. They swear they're lying. And we all know that, but we don't want to stand in our power, and we want to keep giving it away. And so that's what humans do. And we have to be here and show another way, and we usually don't talk about it because you can't talk to stupid. They showed us that. They show us that every day. So the only way to transcend it in terms of being in that, because I have to allow everything into my field, is to show them the way. And then sometimes I need to speak the truth to them right to their face, because the truth hurts, and that's all we do here is speak the truth. So, yeah, sometimes they're told to go fuck off. And they're inconvenienced. Why? Because we deal with that every day. And you don't give a shit. At least we care. Because what we really like to do is choke you out, because it's insanity. You know what I'm saying? Like, we are not the ones who are insane. It's they are. If you are in fear, you don't have the ability to see the truth of what's going on in front of you. So then it's just a projection of your programming onto someone else, just so you don't have to own your shit. And you're like, oh, look, it's 911 police. Yes, well, there's this white bitch on the street, that even though you came into my field and assaulted me, publicly humiliated, now all of a sudden we want to claim victim, and you call the police as you're walking away threatening my life. And I'm sitting and you're standing? I don't know. I get that all the time. We are harassed we are targeted every day. We are harassed by every level, and New Mexico is ridiculous. It is a police state. There are no boundaries. You could be the animal control person, and all of a sudden you're an officer driving around in a vehicle doing whatever the fuck you want to do. Why? Because the police were created in a paradigm, which means that they are in fear, which means that they are not in control of anything that they do, but are controlled by the government. That's what fear does. It's the same thing that happens to humans. So if I'm in fear, that's why they look like robots. Because they are being run by a program which was created by a paradigm, which the paradigm created the government. It's just the evolution of that consciousness, because that's all it is. It's a state of consciousness. It's a paradigm. It is the veils. What we see visually is what the energy has created from those who are in their oneness and understand that whole. Then that's a whole nother, and that's that kind of, you have those kind of conversations, and humans, again, because they understand, but they don't understand, because they know they're of light, but they're in so much fear, and it's trauma. Because when you're in fear, you're in PTSD. That's all you do is walk around in trauma all day long. And if it wasn't for these warriors on the street, we wouldn't even be here. We would have ceased to exist a long time ago. Excuse me, no shame in the game. Fuck the etiquette. Sorry. So the big piece right now for me on a personal level is the oppression of women, and I deal with those things on the street. I've had to go undercover because that's what we do here, to bring to light issues that continue to happen in terms of human trafficking, sex trafficking, the violence that the police create, and that we, the people on the street, have to take care of it. Otherwise, it becomes an explosive situation. So there are brothers and sisters who selflessly sacrifice their lives every day to protect humanity. So because we've had enough. So they're willing to say, okay, I'm going to pretend that I'm getting killed, which in truth, you still have to go through the process, even though it's not actually happening, because it's a form of consciousness, if that makes sense. But you still have to feel it. And it's real. Like, this shit is real. You still have to grieve that even though your friend is not dead, they are now. Do you understand? Like, your brother is now dead, but they're not really dead. And you have to somehow find your way amongst everything else you have to deal with, the addiction that you're already in and the trauma that you're already in. And somehow these beings find a way out of that.
All right, we're just going to wait for a moment here. She's getting her dog here.
And it's no different in an inner city. That's why white people can't go.
Yeah. So you have about 20, 30 more seconds. What else would you like to say? What's your last words? I don't even know where to begin on that one. There's so much to be said that, I mean, it is what it is. And in terms of, I mean, the only thing that I can do, I can talk and talk and talk, but the bottom line, talking never works. So we just have to keep showing the way. And when we need to talk, we do, and we voice our opinions in terms of, and they're not even opinions, it's just truth of the opinions of what are being expressed onto us, if that makes sense. So that's how duality shows up within me. Sometimes I just have to take on that role, even though I know it's not an opinion. I'm just speaking the truth from that perspective, or that consciousness. I mean, for me, the mission is that every being on this planet, it is their birthright to be free. And I know and believe with every aspect of myself, on every level, every dimension, that if I heal myself, I know that it heals the whole, right? Because oneself is one. It is part of one. And so now we're able to do that on a grand scale, which we are healing on a massive scale at this point, only because there's enough of us that hold that level of light and mastery within, that we can come together and deal and be in complete rawness and do the work that we're doing, and basically saving humanity. And I think the truth just needs to come out, and people need to in terms of full disclosure, like, people really consciously, this is about consciousness and nothing else. And humans need to wake the fuck up, because it's the reality that they're living in, if they're in fear, is not truth. It's a lie. It's a story. It's your lineage. It's your family history, whatever the fuck you're going through at the moment. You know what I'm saying? But it's your stuff. And each one of us creates our own reality, because we're our own true being of light, meaning we don't rely on anyone else. We understand that I create my reality. So if it's looking shitty, well, I created it. I best do something about it. And it's nobody else's responsibility. It's not my job to do your work. It's your job to do your work. But we still have to deal with that shit, even though you're in complete denial about it, because that's your word. So it's just getting the word out from a conscious perspective, and using this kind of platform to do that, because then I know it's going to reach the right people, human, in terms of they are, that they're woke or awake. Thank you for being so smart. Right?
She's a smart one. She, he. Gender neutral, like all of us. We haven't even touched on that. There's so much, but yeah. Gender neutrality. One does choose how to express themselves in human form. They want us to believe like it's some kind of like genetic issue that you have, you know, in terms of the gay community, which is what they call it. And I hold no separation, so it's very hard for me to create separation by saying things like that. It's actually very painful for me because I know it's not truth. So how one chooses to express themselves is their choice. It is their unique genetic imprint. And it doesn't matter what anyone else has to say. How they choose to express is what they choose to wear, anything like that. It is their choice. And it's really none of your fucking business. That's the truth. Which means we're all gay because it is our programming. That's what the government decided to call it. If you like someone of the same quote-unquote gender that doesn't exist because we're gender neutral, then you're gay. Well, that's how that works. It's insanity. Yes, it is. That's what we deal with here. The masters of insanity on every level, including the elements and Gaia and everything. We do it all here. Crazy.
Thank you for your time and your interesting dog here.
Right?
That's oh. All right. Well, I just dropped my microphone, but it's okay. Stuff happens. So, thank you. We appreciate the interview. You have a great day.
Showing up. Appreciate you. Thank you.